everyone! I'm so glad you could join me today. Today's book talk is about A Midsummer Night's Dream, one of Shakespeare's most beloved comedies. It's a wonderfully playful work, but it's also much more than just a light-hearted romance. Shakespeare brings together misunderstandings, enchantment, and a slightly strange sense of humor that still feels fresh even now. What makes this play so charming is that it can be enjoyed in so many ways at once. You can read it as a funny love story, as a fantasy filled with fairies, or even as a clever piece of theater that reflects on what performance itself means. That richness is why it continues to be one of Shakespeare's most representative comedies. So today, I'd like to look at why this play has remained so popular, and why its mix of beauty, confusion, and comedy is still so memorable. What makes A Midsummer Night's Dream so fascinating is that it never stays in just one mode. It is a love story, but it is also a fairy tale, a dreamlike comedy, and a play that keeps reminding us that it is a play. Those layers are all woven together so tightly that the story feels delightfully unstable in the best possible way. The lovers' confusion in the forest would already be entertaining on its own, but Shakespeare adds the fairies, and suddenly the whole world feels enchanted and unpredictable. Then he adds the glacial object play, and we get another layer of performance inside the main story. So we are not only watching characters fall in love or get missed, we are also watching people perform, pretend, and misunderstand what is happening around them. That is part of the charm of the work. It feels light and playful, but it is also strangely profound. Love seems fragile, dreams seem real, and theater itself becomes part of the message. That mixture is exactly why this play has remained so memorable for centuries. Within Shakespeare's comedies, A Midsummer Night's Dream stands out as one of the most vivid and imaginative. Many of his comedies rely on mistaken identities, cursed lovers, and clever wordplay, but this play adds an entire fairy world to that familiar comic structure. That makes it feel both playful and strangely magical. It is also one of the clearest examples of Shakespeare's interest in how love can be unstable, irrational, and easily redirected. So even though it is a comedy, it has a depth and complexity that keep it from being a simple light romance. What makes A Midsummer Night's Dream especially interesting is that it is a bright comedy, but not an entirely harmless one. On the surface, it has all the signs of a cheerful romantic comedy: young lovers, fairies, mistaken feelings, and a happy ending. But underneath that lightness, Shakespeare shows how fragile love can be. A single misunderstanding, a little magic, or even a change in attention can completely redirect someone's heart. That is what gives the play its slightly dangerous feeling. The lovers are not just being coy, they are genuinely confused, hurt, and driven to extremes. Helena feels rejected, Hermia is threatened by social pressure, and the men become almost absurdly unstable in their affections. So while the play ends in harmony, it also reminds us that love is not always rational or safe. It can be joyful, but it can also be unsettling, unpredictable, and a little wild. In A Midsummer Night's Dream, the contrast between Athens and the forest is very important. Athens represents order, law, and social structure. It is a city where rules matter, especially when it comes to marriage, family authority, and public responsibility. The characters begin in a world where human behavior is supposed to be controlled and understandable. The forest, by contrast, is a place outside that order. It feels mysterious, unstable, and almost enchanted. Once the characters enter it, the usual rules no longer seem to apply. Feelings shift, identities blur, and the boundaries between reality and imagination become much less certain. That contrast gives the play much of its power. Athens is the world of reason and authority, while the forest is the world of disorder, magic, and transformation. Shakespeare uses that movement from city to forest to show how easily human relationships can be unsettled once they leave the safety of social rules. In that sense, the forest is not just a set, it is the place where the true strangeness of love and desire can appear. Once the characters enter the forest, their relationships begin to unravel in ways that would never happen in Athens. In the city, social rules and family authority still hold things together. But in the forest, those structures weaken, and emotions start to move freely, almost recklessly. What people thought was stable suddenly becomes uncertain. That is why the forest is so important in A Midsummer Night's Dream. It is not just a place where scenes happen, it is the place where confusion becomes possible. Lovers misread each other, feelings shift without warning, and the usual boundaries of identity and desire start to blur. The forest gives Shakespeare a space where human relationships can be tested by magic, chance, and misperception. At the same time, this confusion is what makes the play so lively. The forest strips away social order and reveals how fragile love really is. In Athens, everything has a place. In the forest, everything can change. That contrast is one of the reasons the play feels both playful and unsettling. At the center of the play are four young lovers whose feelings are constantly crossing each other: Hermia, Lysander, Demetrius, and Helena. Hermia loves Lysander, and Lysander loves Hermia, so at first it seems straightforward. But Demetrius is also pursuing Hermia, while Helena is deeply in love with Demetrius, even though he does not return her affection. That imbalance creates the emotional tension that drives so much of the story. What makes this quartet so effective is that Shakespeare does not keep their relationships fixed. Instead, he lets desire shift, clash, and become confused, especially once the characters enter the forest. That means the play is not only about romance, but also about how unstable romance can be when it is tested by jealousy, insecurity, and magical interference. The result is both funny and painful. Each character believes in their feelings completely, even when those feelings are changing or being rejected. So the love quadrangle becomes a kind of comic mirror of human desire, passionate, irrational, and constantly out of balance. One of the most entertaining things about A Midsummer Night's Dream is watching who loves whom change again and again. At the beginning, the relationship seems simple enough, but once the story moves into the forest, desire becomes unstable and almost comically unpredictable. A person who was ignored suddenly becomes adored, and a faithful lover may suddenly act as if the original feelings never existed. This constant reversal creates both humor and suspense. The audience knows the feelings are being manipulated, but the characters experience everything as completely real. That gap between what the audience sees and what the lovers believe is what makes the shifting romance so funny. It also shows how fragile human affection can be, especially when it is exposed to confusion, jealousy, and magic. The conflict between Oberon and Titania gives the fairy world its deepest tension. They are not just magical, they are a royal couple locked in a serious quarrel, and their dispute affects everything around them. Shakespeare uses their conflict to show that even in a world of fairies and enchantment, power struggles and jealousy still exist. What is especially interesting is that their argument is not separate from the human story. The fairies' disagreement spills into the lives of the lovers, so their private conflict becomes part of the larger chaos of the play. That means the fairy world is not merely decorative or whimsical. It actively shapes the movement of the plot. Oberon wants control, and Titania refuses to yield easily. Their clash is dramatic, but it also has a strangely comic quality because their pride and stubbornness are so recognizable. In that sense, Shakespeare makes the fairy king and queen feel both larger than life and very human. Their conflict adds grandeur, mischief, and instability to the play, helping turn the forest into a place where order can break down and be rebuilt in surprising ways. Huck is the character who keeps the whole story in motion. He is Oberon's mischievous helper, and once he starts saying in the lovers' affairs, the play becomes wildly unpredictable. What makes Puck so important is that he is not just a trickster for the sake of calm. He is the force that turns hidden tensions into open chaos. He is the one who misapplies the love potion, confuses the lovers, and helps push the plot into its most ridiculous and tangled moments. But at the same time, he gives the forest its special energy. Without Puck, the magical world would feel calmer and more decorative. With him, it becomes lively, unstable, and full of surprise. Puck also has a wonderfully theatrical quality. He seems aware that the whole story is a kind of performance, and his playful attitude helps remind us that this is a world where normal rules can be bent. He is funny, reckless, and a little dangerous, but that is exactly why he is so memorable. In many ways, he is the spark that makes A Midsummer Night's Dream feel like a dream at all. One of the most striking ideas in A Midsummer Night's Dream is the magic that makes someone fall in love with the first person they see upon waking. It is a wonderfully comic device, but it also raises a serious question: if love can change so quickly, how much of it is truly rational? Shakespeare uses this enchanted rule to show that attraction is often less stable than we want to believe. A feeling that seems deeply personal may actually depend on timing, chance, or even a simple mistake. That is what makes the play so interesting. On the one hand, the love potion creates absurd situations and hilarious reversals. On the other hand, it suggests that human desire is surprisingly fragile and easily redirected. We like to think love is based on reason, but this play reminds us that it is often shaped by accident, illusion, and circumstances beyond our control. So the potion is not just a fantasy element. It is Shakespeare's way of asking whether love is something we choose, or something that simply happens to us. This is where the play becomes more than a fantasy story and starts asking a serious question: is love rational, or is it shaped by chance and illusion? Shakespeare seems to suggest that love is not as stable or logical as people often imagine. The lovers in the forest do not suddenly become wiser or more thoughtful. Instead, their feelings are redirected by accident, by magic, and by the strange conditions around them. That makes love in this play feel both comic and unsettling. We want to believe that affection is based on clear judgment, but A Midsummer Night's Dream shows how easily it can be altered by circumstances we do not fully control. A glance, a misunderstanding, a mistaken first impression, or a magical can change everything. At the same time, Shakespeare is not simply mocking love. He is showing how mysterious it is. Love may not be purely rational, but that does not make it meaningless. In fact, the play suggests that its irrationality is part of what makes it human. We fall in love through a mixture of feeling, timing, imagination, and chance. That is why the question at the heart of this play remains so interesting, even now. The play's Pyramus and Nisbe is one of the most charming parts of A Midsummer Night's Dream. It is performed by Bottom and the other craftsmen, who are not professional actors at all, and that is exactly what makes it so delightful. They approach the performance with complete seriousness, but their acting is awkward, over-explained, and full of comic misunderstandings. What is especially funny is that they are trying to stage a tragic love story, yet their lack of polish turns it into something warm, silly, and deeply human. The audience can see that they are doing their best, and that effort makes them lovable. Shakespeare also uses this scene to create another layer of theater inside the main story, reminding us that acting itself can be playful, improvised, and imperfect. So the craftsman's play is not just a joke. It adds heart to the comedy and shows that even clumsy performance can be strangely moving. What makes the craftsman's performance so funny is that it is clumsy in exactly the right way. Their acting is full of exaggeration, awkward pauses, and unintended misunderstandings, but they are so honest that we cannot help but like them. The humor comes not from cruelty, but from affection. Shakespeare lets us laugh at their mistakes while also admiring their sincerity, so the scene becomes both ridiculous and strangely endearing. One of the most fascinating things about A Midsummer Night's Dream is that we are never fully sure whether the events really happened or were only a dream. That uncertainty is part of the play's magic. The lovers experience something intense and confusing in the forest, but when they wake up, the memory feels unstable, almost like something half remembered from sleep. Shakespeare uses that blurred boundary to make the story feel mysterious and emotionally rich. If everything were clearly real, it would just be a strange magical incident. But because it might have been a dream, the play becomes something deeper, a story about how feelings can seem real even when the world around them is uncertain. That is why the ending feels so memorable. The characters are changed, but the source of that change is hard to pin down. Dream and reality overlap, and Shakespeare leaves us with that beautiful ambiguity. What makes A Midsummer Night's Dream so distinctive is the way love, theater, and dreams overlap until they start to feel like the same thing. The lovers are not only experiencing emotion, they are also caught in a kind of performance, where feelings can shift unexpectedly and identities can seem unstable. At the same time, the play itself is full of theatrical self-awareness, especially with the playful butterfly, which reminds us that people are always acting in some sense, even when they think they are being sincere. Dream imagery deepens that effect, because in dreams emotions often feel absolutely real, even when logic is impossible. Shakespeare uses that blur to create a world where affection, illusion, and performance all mirror one another. That is why the play feels so rich. It is not just about love or magic or theater alone, but about how those things can become inseparable. One reason A Midsummer Night's Dream is still loved today is that it works on several levels at once. As fantasy, it gives us a magical forest, fairies, and a world where ordinary rules no longer apply. As a romantic comedy, it gives us misunderstandings, shifting affections, and a happy ending that feels playful rather than sentimental. And as media theater, it keeps reminding us that stories are performed, watched, and interpreted, both by the characters and by the audience. That layered quality is what makes the play so enduring. It is charming, funny, and imaginative, but it also invites us to think about love, illusion, and the nature of performance. Shakespeare manages to make all of that feel light and effortless, which is part of the brilliance of the work. That brings us to the end of today's talk about A Midsummer Night's Dream. Thank you so much for listening. This play is one of Shakespeare's most delightful works because it is funny, magical, and hopeful all at once. It gives us lovers who get lost in confusion, fairies who disturb the natural order, and a dreamlike world where theater and reality keep blending together. What I love most about it is that it feels light on the surface, but it also leaves us with deeper questions about love, imagination, and the stories we tell ourselves. Even after centuries, it still feels fresh because human feelings have not really changed. I hope today's discussion made the play a little more vivid and a little easier to enjoy. If you have not read it yet, I really recommend giving it a try. And if you already know it, maybe this is a good chance to revisit it with new eyes. Thank you again for joining me, and I hope to see you next time.